So in this lesson, we are going to be graphing lines by graphing coordinate pairs from the table and then drawing our line. So the way that we do this is we have a table of values where I've given you X values. And what we're going to do is we're going to take each of those numbers and substitute them into the equation to figure out our Y value. So let's start with -2. So we're going to replace the X with a -2, and then we're going to do the math. So -2 take away 4 would be -6. Then I'm going to do the next problem. I'm going to start all over and I'm going to substitute the -1 in for the X. And now if I owe $1 and I owe 4 more dollars, I owe a total of $5. We'll do that again with the next, which is 0, and my answer would be -4. Then I'm going to do that by replacing the X with a 1. 1 take away 4 would be -3. And then I'm going to put a 2 in there. 2 take away 4 is -2. So now I'm going to graph each of these coordinate pairs on the graph. So remember, we always start at the origin, the center, and the X tells us to go left or right, and the Y tells us to go up or down. So -2 means we're going to go 2 to the left, and then we're going to go 6 down, and we're going to graph that ordered pair. Back to the origin, go 1 left and 5 down. Back to the origin, we're not going to go left or right, we're just going to go 4 down. Back to the origin, we're going to go 1 to the right and 3 down. And then back to the origin, we're going to go 2 to the right and 2 down. So then what we're going to do is we're going to graph the linear function by drawing a line through those points, and make sure you put arrows on both ends to show that it is a line and that it goes infinitely in both directions. So are these 4 ordered pairs the only solutions? No. How many solutions are there? Well, a line goes on forever and ever, so there are infinite solutions. Can we name another solution? Sure, you could pick any other X value. Let's say X equals 3. So I'm going to plug that into the equation. Y equals 3 minus 4, and that's going to be -1. So here's another solution, 3, -1. And the explanation is I can pick any other X value, substitute into the equation, and solve for Y. To find my point. Okay. And why are there infinite solutions? Because a line has infinite points. Okay, so we have a couple problems left that we're going to practice substituting numbers in for. So in the next one, we've given you the table. I've picked X values. You can pick any ones you want, but I've just picked for us for today. And remember, we're going to take that X value and we're going to put it into the equation and do the math. So if we have Y equals -5, we're going to multiply that by -2, and so that equals 10. In the second problem, we're going to take the -1 and substitute it into the equation. -5 times -1, negative times a negative is a positive. 5 times 1 is 5. Now we're going to plug in a 0, and we know that anything times 0 is 0. Now we're going to plug in a 1. -5 times 1 is -5. And now we're going to plug in a 2. 5 times 2 is 10, and a positive times a negative is a negative. So now we're going to graph those points. So we're going to start at the origin. That's where the x and y axes cross. And first we'll go 2 to the left for our x value, and then we're going to go 10 up. Back to our origin, we're going to go 1 to the left and 5 up. Then we're graphing 0, 0, that's our origin. Then from that origin, we're going to go 1 to the right and 5 down. Back to the origin, 2 to the right and 10 down. And then we connect those points together, going a little past each of those and putting arrows on both ends to show that a line is infinite. Okay, next question, letter C says y equals x. So if x is negative 2 and I substitute it in, then y is negative 2. This means that each of these values are exactly the same, because they are equal to one another. So put your pencil at your origin where the x and y axes cross, 2 to the left and 2 down. Back to the origin, 1 to the left and 1 down. Graph 0, 0. Then we're going to go 1 to the right and 1 up. And then we're going to go 2 to the right and 2 up. Then we'll connect those points, going a little past with arrows on both ends. And now we've drawn the line. The linear function is another name for y equals x. One more problem to practice is a little bit more complicated to put the numbers in, so I thought we should do this example. So again, I've picked x values. You can pick whatever you would like, but I've given you some choices already. So we're going to take each x value and we're going to substitute it into the equation, and we're going to do the math. So the first one is y equals 1/2 times, and we're going to put in a negative 2 plus 1. Half of 2 is 1, and a positive times a negative is a negative, so that'll be negative 1 plus 1, which is 0. Now I'm going to do the same equation, 1/2, but I'm going to substitute in negative 1 and then plus 1. Half of 1 is a half. A positive times a negative is a negative, so we have negative 1/2 plus 1. If I have a whole cake and I eat half of it, which is negative, then I would have half of a cake left. Now I'm going to put in a 0. 1/2 times 0 plus 1. 1/2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 would be 1. Now I'm going to plug in a 1. 1 times a half is a half, and 1/2 plus 1 is 1/2. Now I'm going to put in a 2. Half of 2 is 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. So now we're going to graph these on the coordinate plane. So remember, you start at the origin 0, 0. We're going to go 2 to the left, and then 0 means don't go up or down. Go back to the origin. We're going to go 1 to the left and half of a box up. Then I'm going to go back to the origin. I'm not going to go left or right, but I'm going to go 1 box up. Back to the origin, to the beginning. I'm going to go 1 to the right and up 1.5 boxes. And my last point is 2, 2. 2 to the right and 2 up. Then I'm going to connect those together, making sure I put arrows on both ends. And so now we've practiced graphing linear functions using a table of values.